Hello. So I thought I'd share today about why I teach Spanish. Apart from the fact that I'm very lucky, I grew up bilingual and I just talk it. To me, it's just as natural as speaking English, speaking in Spanish. And I know for many other people that is not the case. But growing up bilingual, I also grew up bicultural. So you learn to appreciate, if you grow up with just the one culture, it can lead to people going, it's my way or the highway, or this is right, that's wrong, and being more judgmental. And sometimes when you're exposed to different people's ways of doing things, it can broaden your mind, make you realize that there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, although that's likely to get you reported if you do. So, why do I teach Spanish? Because if we understand one another, we're less likely to fall out, argue, end up in an argument that escalates. And that's how problems start, whether that's a couple of people on holiday coming to fisticuffs or whether it's governments pressing the big button. We need to understand each other. My nan always said, I'm not superstitious, I'm a Christian. Now that was her standpoint. Other faiths are available. But when you look at superstition, people have superstitions like you mustn't walk under a ladder. Now, where does that superstition come from? Well, if you walk under a ladder, you might get a pot of paint on your head. You might get the bloke that's up the ladder on your head. You might get a hammer on your head. Or you might destabilize the ladder and cause an accident. That makes sense in any language. So tick, that's a valid superstition. Friday 13th, hands up who thinks Friday the 13th is unlucky. Yeah. So it comes from, originally, it was really unlucky for the, what do you call it? For the Knights Templar. They got totally massacred on Friday 13th. And that's where it comes from in the British culture, in the English-speaking world. However, in Spanish, the unlucky date is Tuesday the 13th. Now, there's reasons behind that, I'm sure. I've never quite got to the bottom of them. But is it Friday 13th? Is it Tuesday 13th? The number 13, you go to certain hotels and there's no room 13, there's no floor 13. It's even got its own name, triskaidekaphobia. Very catchy. But it's just a number. Historically, way back when, 13 was a blessed number for women. It was a strong number. If you had 13 children, you were considered to be really blessed. Probably absolutely knackered, but blessed. Okay. But over years, it has become this unlucky thing. Black cats, are they lucky? Are they unlucky? Depending on the culture. In certain cultures, they're lucky. In certain cultures, they're unlucky. In certain cultures, they make it even more complicated. If it crosses your path from left to right or right to left, one's lucky, one's unlucky. It's just a cat. And it's got black fur. There you go. I'm with Stacey on that. My friend just got a ginger tabby. Complete and utter nightmare. But at the end of the day, it's just a cat. People that have black cats are advised to keep them in during Halloween and that sort of season because they might get attacked, they might get taunted. It's terrible. It's just a poor cat. So look at those superstitions. Maybe look at them a bit more critically. Where do they come from? Certain rules, certain religious rules. If people do something weird, try and look into why they're doing it. Why is it non-kosher or haram in the Jewish or the Muslim faith to eat pork? Well, if you look at it, trichinosis, which you can get from poorly cooked meat, can kill. And the ancient leaders of those communities, going back hundreds or thousands of years, they needed to keep their people safe. The only way to keep people safe in very religious-centric societies is to say it's a message from God, the powers that be, you know, don't offend your God, however you want to call them. They have said you must not do this. You know, if we had this thing that God says you must not walk under ladders, it wouldn't work for a lot of us because we go, yeah, but it's common sense. It's a way of keeping people safe. Nowadays, it's outdated because we have better food preservation, better refrigeration, all that. But if you look at the habit and you understand where it's come from, you can understand that people are not just doing it to be weird or awkward or anything like that, or because they're against your particular beliefs because they're doing something different. You can realize that originally it had good reason. The one that always sticks with me is the husband watches his wife preparing a roast for Sunday dinner, and she chops a bit of the leg of lamb off before she puts it in the pan. And he says, what do you chop that off? Is it an offering to a god? Is it, you know, a sacrificial bit of lamb or whatever? Why are you doing it? And she goes, oh no, that's part of the preparation of lamb. You know, my mum's always done it that way. And so they go and ask mum, why does she do it? And well, my mum used to always do it. It goes back to great grandma. Great grandma, why do you always chop a bit of the lamb off, the leg of lamb before you put it in the oven? And she goes, oh, don't tell me you've still not got a pan that fits a decent leg of lamb. She had an oven that was too small, so she had to chop a bit off. But that got handed down as that is how you prepare lamb. Now that's a far-fetched example, but it's real. So in order to understand where people's attitudes, habits, and that come from, don't just think that they're weird. Oh, these foreign folk, they do weird stuff. Just ask. I mean, I'm sure all of our families have things that we do that you think, oh, that's a bit weird. Or to you, it's completely normal. And then a friend comes around, they go, what do you do that? I always remember when I was newly engaged and we went and we bought our wedding outfits, and I bought these lovely shoes and I brought them back to my very Lancashire mother-in-law and put them on the coffee table and said, look, these are my shoes. She had a meltdown. Apparently it's the worst thing ever. I have no idea why, because everybody knows in her book that putting shoes on a table is bad. I still don't know why, but I know that I do not put shoes on the table. Even though she's passed, I don't want to offend anybody else, so I just don't do it. But you know, if you do upset people, that's the thing, Katie. And for some people it's new shoes, and for some people it's any shoes. And with used shoes, I'd understand it because I'd understand, you know, they've been on the floor. But new shoes, what's with that? Who knows? But whenever I mention that example, there's people in the room go, oh yeah, you mustn't do that. Okay. Ah, that makes sense. See, Sam's the first person who's been able to tell me why. So it could signify that somebody has died. There you go. Makes good sense. So if people are doing something weird, just ask, just talk to them. And if you can talk to them in their own language, it's even better because we can always express ourselves better in our own language than in a foreign language. Now, I'm very fortunate. I can express myself perfectly well in English or Spanish because I grew up with both of them. My German's very rusty, so I would struggle to express deep feelings in that language. But if people are talking to you in their own language, you get the true selves out of them. So, yeah, there you go. That's my thing about why should you learn another language before you go on holiday? Even if it's just the basics, you can understand people better. I'm happy to take any questions.
Fab, thank you, Sylvia. I'm just looking, is it all shoes or are Crocs exempt? I think Crocs are unlucky regardless. If it to my mind, they should be banished to the same space as a dry robe. Ew, don't put those in front of me.
Well, there you go. I only wear Crocs when I'm wearing my dry robe, which is at the appropriate time. So
See,
It's like in Thailand, they're just seen as dirty. So it's not to do with what type. It's just purely rude not to take your shoes off to go inside somewhere. Like if you have a massage, they'll clean your feet first.